Started. All right, guys, this is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be retyping Malcolm, get a good look at Malcolm's face. What do you think Malcolm's type actually is? Last time we got ENTJ, but we've seen some discrepancies in that, and that's why it's important to join our Mega Live and be in our community, because if we do actually mistype, we will fix that, okay? Look at Malcolm's face, and you guys gauge and tell me what you think in the comments what Malcolm's actual type is. But let's get into it. I'm gonna let Shelly and Thomas kind of run the show a little bit, and we'll go. So, Thomas, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Tom.
You got to be muted. You got to join audio.
I think he joined the audio. I'll figure it out.
Y'all got to call me back.
Oh shit! Well, I think Thomas just lagged out. All right, well, Shelly, you go ahead and start it. Ask him a question.
Okay. How do you feel about authority and being told what to do? We're allowed to ask the same questions, right? Because I have no idea.
Try something different.
I was gonna say, you better not tell me what to do if you sound like you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna be trying to hear none of that at all.
All right, so Malcolm, tell me about a very tough period in your time and how you overcame that.
Dang, how deep? How far back we gotta go?
Whatever you want to share, brother.
Let me think, bro. Let me think. So, how I overcame it? Shit. I'm trying to think that. Okay, when I was 19, I randomly collapsed leaving work one day. Had perfect health, never been sick before. I never even had a cold. Just collapsed. Nobody knew why. Took me to the ambulance. Mind you, at this point, I'm broke. Like broke as fuck. I'm a college student. I have no support system. It's just me grinding and going to school and working 3 jobs. And they was like, maybe it's fatigue. So they did a CAT scan. Sent me home. Told me I was good to go to work the next day. Like 4 days later, it happened again, but I lost consciousness and hit the ground pretty hard. Took me back to the hospital. A different doctor came in, showed me my CAT scan results from right for the last time I was there, and said, you should have never left this hospital. I said, why? And he showed me my CAT scan next to a regular person's CAT scan, and all you saw was a giant shadow on the left side of my torso. They thought I had cancer, really bad. So during this period of 2.5 years, I had a couple of surgeries. Luckily, it wasn't cancer, but I had to remove some tumors and stuff that apparently had always been there, and I just didn't know about it because we didn't have no insurance because I was broke. Everybody kind of like abandoned me. I was in a long-term, I was not long distance, I was in a long-term relationship. I had friends I went out with all the time. And when I was laying in a hospital bed, after like the 3rd week, I kind of stopped hearing from people. So my way of, like, that was a huge challenge for me because you don't know if you're going to die. You also feel abandoned, where you used to having people like you're doing shit on your own as far as supporting yourself, but you have a group, if something's wrong, checking on you. And everybody just kind of disappeared in that like couple-month period. So for the next 2 years, like I was trying to get my body back right, I overcame that by getting more determined. I was like, if I can't rely on people to get me to my appointments and stuff, I need to figure out how to do it. I can't just lay, because I lived in a 3rd-story apartment and I was having trouble walking because of the pain. I was like, I can't lay in this bed for the next 6 months. I got to figure out how to get out of this fucking apartment. So I would get up with a walker and make myself go to these appointments. The bus stop was like 3 blocks away. So this was a real slow burn for me. And my way of that feeling of abandonment can make you all depressed and shit. Like you already feel fucked up, you unhealthy. And instead of making it like letting that consume me, you and I talked about this recently, like even last night. Instead of letting that feeling of abandonment, like sadness consume me, I was like, no, fuck this. I need to do something because I'm not going to survive. Like you can't just lay there and let your muscles atrophy and shit. You got to get up and move. Can't lay in the bed for 6 months and be okay. So the way I overcame that was I just had to force myself to get up. Like it hurt like hell walking around. Like I had gas pains really bad. I was on a bunch of different medications for like infection. I ended up with a massive infection after the last surgery. And my way of overcoming it was, ain't nobody else coming. It's just me. I ain't got nobody that's gonna show up and pick me up out of this bed. I need to get my big ass up and go to these appointments. I need to get up and walk down these 3 flights of stairs. And it was like, it's like trying to climb a wall that you can't see the top of. Because for me, climbing down those stairs, it took me like half an hour. Think about how short 3 flights of steps is. Imagine how slow you got to be going to take half an hour. It was daunting. So my way of overcoming that was recognizing ain't nobody coming to rescue me. It's not a fairy tale story. This is my fucking life. And I hated how restricted I felt. And I had 2 options: lay there, feel sorry for myself, or go through the pain and push myself. So after about a 2-year period, I became like a stronger, more athletic person than I was before I was sick. And I don't think I would have recovered in that way or bounced back in that way, because it was a long journey if I kept waiting on somebody to show up. So I think that would probably be one of the more significant ones.
Well, damn, man. You surely can fucking talk, bitch.
Hey, listen, bro, I ain't as bad as yesterday. Y'all was going to fuck off for 3 hours.
All right, man. So you told me you're married, man. So how did you find your partner, and what were you looking for?
Well, I got on mailorderbride.com. They had a special. No, I'm playing with you.
Well, what?
I'm just playing with you. No, we met. I'm bullshitting. No, we just met just in life, just walking around and shit. And we met downtown where I used to work in a different county in Washington right after I came here from Florida. And we hung out one day, and we just vibed immediately. Hung out like every day since. We've been together ever since. We don't have no secret. We don't have no secret. What was I looking for? Nothing. I was single. I was single, handsome, and ready to mingle, bro. I was out in these streets for real. I was not looking for a relationship, love, and none of that, because when I was down south, I was in a long-term relationship that to me was very toxic. I was like, I don't want this shit anytime soon or nothing like it. I'm good on relationships. So I was just single. I was focused on my money and building and career. You know, I'd go have fun sometimes, you know, like we do on the weekends, but like I wasn't focused on that. So we met, I was just like kind of annoyed. I was like, damn, I want to go talk to that motherfucker again. And then we just never separated. I was comfortable having them in my space, which is a big thing for me. Like, I don't like motherfuckers to be all around me all the time in like my house and shit. So I didn't wanted them to come over. I wanted to go to their house. I was like, damn, I might love this motherfucker. Damn. I was like, oh, damn, they got me. I called my grandma. She said, yep, baby, that's the one. Like, all right, grandma said it's the one, because grandma do not like nobody I ever dated at all.
I remember you dated some psycho girl at the gym. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, no, we not. Don't even bring it. I don't want to hear it, bro. Don't bring that shit up. Like, that's old news, bro. We're going to leave that in the past. The rear view mirror. Don't even do it.
I remember you dated some psycho bitch for the gym. I remember that shit.
Nah, hey, listen, bro. Listen, we're not going to talk about none of that. Right. We here to talk about me in the future. Not. Let me start talking about your psycho exes real quick. Let's switch it on Mercy.
Hey, but this interview is about you, and we trying to find your personality type.
We can make it about you. We can make it about you.
We try to find your personality type. Okay, so you got.
I'm just trying to find out, you know, why they be crazy at the gym and why you be with them.
All right, so when you like, what's your thought process when you trying to learn something new?
Trying to learn something new. Am I trying to learn it because it's just an intriguing topic, or is it something I can master and turn into a value-based skill set? Is it something I can make money off of? Can I monetize it? Is it something I can use to help family and friends of mine make their own money, even if I can't benefit from it? Like, usually when I'm trying to learn something, it's something I'm really enjoying, just in my free time if I have any, or it's something that I know that I can get value out of. You'll rarely see me trying to learn some shit that I'm never going to use again.
So, I mean, let's just say, like, if you were to learn piano, how would you go about doing that?
If I was going to learn piano, I would find somebody who had mastered the craft, because I've played the piano a little bit, and it's an art form by itself. So if you want to learn an art form, you need an artist. who understands the intricacies, not just of reading music, which is its own language, but how to understand where you are skill-wise. If you are at 0 and they don't have the teaching gene, they can't teach you. So the first thing I would do is find someone who is not just good at playing the piano, but is a good teacher. Like everybody don't have that skill.
Okay. What was one of the best jobs you've ever had and why?
Best jobs I ever had. Working for myself. Working for myself because I have full autonomy over my time, my creative process, the types of contracts I take. I'm the boss. If I say we're not doing this shit, it's not going to happen. I can tell somebody no anytime. The customer is not always right when you walk in my offices, ever. If you said some bullshit, you get the fuck out. That's one of my favorite parts. But also, you get control of your time in a way that you would not get, because I work in finance and these other industries. You do not own your time when you work under someone else. They can question your vacation time you put in. This happened to me 6 months ago. I got approved PTO at this firm I worked at. And the day before I leave, they're trying to tell me I can't go. I was like, listen, my phone will be on airplane mode at 5:03 p.m. when I close this place up. And you can call and I'm not going to answer until the day, like 2 weeks later. They didn't like that. And I didn't care. Like the question earlier, how I feel like being told what to do, it depends. Are you saying something stupid?
Okay.
Working for me is the best.
Okay. What do you think about school?
That's a broad question. School could be fun. School could be a pain in the ass. And as far as learning goes, it depends on the professor. Like I said, everybody don't have the teaching gene. I have professors I still talk to this day because I find them to be like brilliant teachers. And I know I could just get so much information from them. Like they know how to give you the game so that you can play it too. Other teachers, like they're tenured, they do not give a fuck. They be handing out packets and stuff. Like they are not invested in anyone around them really doing well as long as they stay tenured. So school for me, it really depends on that professor. The experience overall, as long as you get a degree field that's going to be of use to you, I think school is dope. But if you major in something that statistically has no job value, you're going to hate your life after you graduate.
So we had to make a live question yesterday about college. Do you think college, what would you put college at for kids? Would you say people should go to college? You say people shouldn't go to college? What do you sit on that?
I would say if you want to go to college, go to college. College is where I built a lot of my social skills because I used to be very, very reserved. I did not fuck with people and I almost never talked. Like if you spent like 10 days with me, I might say 4 words. Very, very reserved before I got socialized. You get a lot of social skills in school. You learn different perspectives. You get introduced to people hopefully from different cultures than you. Gives you more worldview. But you don't got to go to college. You can make 6 figures a year going to a trade school. You can go learn a skill set, start your own business. Like college is not necessary. It's just good to have as an option. So I never tell people, fuck college, or you have to go to college. I say it's an option, but sometimes that shit is not for you. You could try it. If you feel like it's going to elevate you, go to school. But you don't have to go to school to be successful in life. I don't think college is mandatory to get what you want out of life because when I was moving around the world and living in different countries, I didn't have a degree. I worked, I made my money, I stacked it up, put it in the right types of accounts that were interest, and I moved. Moved to this country, moved to that country. You ain't got to have 10 degrees to live a good life. You ain't have to have 1 degree. Like if you think about all the billionaires that you guys post and type, a lot of them ain't never been to college. Not one. It's common. So long story short, you don't have to go to college. You can. But I mean, it's either for you or it's not.
Okay. What do you think about, because they were talking about on the live yesterday about religion.
I got mixed feelings about religion. Because like I told you yesterday, I grew up in a missionary Baptist Southern Black church. Very, very religious, like almost cult-like. Black people are like the most devout Christians in America, which is ironic for so many fucked up reasons. That's the environment I grew up in. The problem with religion is that it contradicts itself. For me personally, it contradicts itself constantly. Is because it kept getting proven wrong. like saying the Earth is the center of the universe. Well, when the telescope was invented, you know that the church wanted that man dead. I can't remember his name, the inventor of the telescope, but I'm sure you read about him before. Anything that's a constant contradiction, it's hard for me to take it. This is the gospel or this is the law, because if I can look at it and pick holes in it, how many holes do I got to find before I'm like, this is no longer something that's stable as a structure? You can't have a structure full of holes. Mm-hmm. It's going to collapse on you. And that's how I feel about religion. And then also study religion a little bit. I won't claim to be an expert on it, but I grew up in it, immersed in it. The church has more blood on its hands than almost every other group combined. Because when they would go to spread religion, they would talk about people who wouldn't convert. If you're not a convert, you're called a heretic. You know what they did to heretics? They murdered them by the millions. Mm-hmm. Book is the book. Somebody wrote it thousands of years after the characters allegedly died, but also even the holidays connected to religion aren't even Christian holidays. Christmas has nothing to do with Christianity. Easter was derived from a territory that Christians took over and slaughtered a bunch of people. Easter derives from the word Ishtar, which is the goddess of sex and fertility, which is why they have the rabbit and the egg. Nothing to do with Christianity. Mm-hmm. There's so many stories in the Bible that were stolen from other places that were basically colonized by the church that have nothing to do with Christianity. And it's in the book that people live their life by. Mm-hmm. So you can't live a code that is pieces of other codes. It's either this or it isn't. So I think, I don't know, man. I have very mixed feelings because like you want to believe as a person who's mortal that there's something after this, because a lot of people fear mortality. That's what drives them to religion in the first place. Mm-hmm. But if the whole thing we're basing our belief system on is taken from pieces of other completely different religions and societies and belief systems, I can't really take that as the law. Mm-hmm. So I could say, like, even though I grew up in that environment, I can't say I'm like devoutly religious. Like, I hope that there's something after this, but if I'm only basing it on what's in this books and the things associated with it, there's a lot missing there that doesn't add up because these factors don't come from this religion. Mm-hmm. But
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna ask you a question here. How you know something is true or false?
Say again.
How you know something is true or false?
In the moment, sometimes I might not have that knowledge. I don't take a lot of stuff at face value, so I research. I'm big on research. Like, if somebody tell you something, don't take it at face value. Like, no, fact check them, because they could be lying to you, or they could just be wrong. Somebody could have lied to them. So if I don't immediately know that it's true or false based on the person's body language, because I'm good at reading people for the most part, because I have to do that in my career, I got to read some fucked up people for work. Just body language, behavior to try to pick apart what makes them tick and who's lying, stuff like that. But if I'm just having a general conversation, I fact check them. We could be talking, I'm just looking at my phone. I'm not looking at text messages. I'm pulling up different websites with research, with a peer review studies to see if you full of shit or not. Because I actually want to know, especially if you say something that I'm actually like, oh, that's interesting. I never heard of that. Let me see if you're telling the truth or not. I want to learn more. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes they are telling the truth, so I can ask them more questions because now I'm looking at the information. Or sometimes they just made that shit up or got it off the internet. Mm-hmm. Now you got to tell them, hey, man, you lied to me.
So how do you go about telling somebody they lied to you, man?
Pretty straightforward, bro. You told me the sun is purple and the sky is on fire, and I walk outside. None of that is true. I get on the internet, nobody got any news about it. I'm like, hey, listen, man, I would like you to know that your eyes don't work at all, and you need to go back to sleep. Okay. Like, you ain't got to be super rude about it, but like sometimes people say stuff to me, I'm like, that's just not right, man. That's not true at all. Mm-hmm. So I don't try to like stomp on them as far as like shit on them for being wrong, but some people, like, you could tell are like just spreading bullshit just to cause chaos. I'll probably lean on them a little bit harder than the average person who heard something that was common. Mm-hmm. It was just wrong.
Okay. How do you deal with your emotions?
Damn, bro, fucking therapy in here, bro. What's up with that?
Bro, I mean, I gotta ask you questions that's different.
Nah, I got you, bro.
I can't ask you the shit that we asked you.
My emotions, I can say very calculated. If it's trauma, like loss, like I experienced, and you and I talked about, I lost some people over the last couple of years, I deal with that privately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of my hardest moments to deal with, I don't get on the internet and like, hey, y'all, come look at me. Like, I might make a post because a lot of people knew me and them were close or something, and their
Mm-hmm.
families looking at my page. Oh, that wonder Malcolm knew about it. But like, I don't really talk about grief and stuff as openly because that's private. That's very intimate. Like, even love, like the greatest parts of my life, I deal with them close to me. Now, in a business sense, I'm very still water. I don't get rattled. I don't get excited. If we're doing something, I'm working a case or I'm in a business deal or something, and we are trying to do negotiations, everybody getting heated and tense, I'm always even. They'll never know they got a rise out of me, that I'm excited. You just did something that benefited me, or you just did something that fucked my company over. You'll never know it because I'll be just like this, still water, just glass the whole time. I internalize the emotion only in a way so that I'm dealing with it privately within me and not projecting those emotions into whatever I'm doing. Because I used to do that when I was really young. All that does is cause bad things to happen because people realize they can control you by getting a rise out of you, getting you to act out of character, can make you look bad to say an investor or something. They can just get you to screw yourself over. So dealing with emotions for me, I try to just deal with them. I make sure I process them in real time, but I do it privately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand when people get on Facebook Live and spend 3 hours crying their eyes out, telling people about their girlfriend breaking up with them and all the other details. I think that shit is weird because now you just gave people ammunition to talk shit to you or about you or put you down.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit is on the internet, so it's there forever. Like, everybody don't need to know your business.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So how do you deal with people getting argumentative with you, or people maybe stepping across the line?
I'm big on respect. But what I do for work, I will have to respond because there's laws and rules with what I do. I have to respond a very specific way. If
Mm-hmm.
someone gets super disrespectful to me, like in a courtroom or a federal building or something, I conduct my response a lot more professionally. But if you and me are on the street and I didn't do anything to you, you start talking to me crazy, bumping up on me, something just gonna have to happen. I'm from down south, bro. You're not just gonna talk to me all day. But I haven't had that happen in a long time because now I have so much to lose. So
Mm-hmm.
when someone gets disrespected for me, I would say in a broader sense, I crush them. Once you do that to me and I know I didn't do anything to you, I'm gonna figure out, I'm calculated. So if you decided to just be an asshole just because you feel like you can, I'm not the one you could just run over just because you feel like you're having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can empathize. Sometimes that person going through something, I'm like, man, I can see, you know, they just, you know, they're lashing out because something happened to them, something traumatic. There's a limit on that.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, people are taking advantage of that empathy or that kindness that you have in you, like that I have in me, because they might know that about me. And when I realize you're doing that, like, I want to crush you now. Like, and now my emotions are different. Like, I want to figure out what's going on with you, what kind of business you're connected with, and I want to crush you to the ground. If you got investors, they mine now. Pack up, y'all out of here. You got an office downtown? Don't worry, I'll be acquiring that next quarter.
It sounded like some Michael Jackson shit, man. Like what Michael
I'm telling you, like, listen, Eminem dissed Michael
Eminem.
Jackson. Michael Jackson never said a word. He bought his master. So every time Eminem performed for the rest of his life,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson's estate got paid.
Yeah, that's the same thing you just said. Just makes the same thing that Michael Jackson did. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I would do to you.
yeah. Is there any celebrity you feel like you are very similar to?
The character they play, or like who they are, like behind the scenes?
You could pick anybody, any character or whatnot.
I don't know if there's one that's just like specific and I can see all the attributes there, but there's a couple. Denzel Washington played a man called Frank Lucas, an American gangster.
Mm-hmm.
And I have attributes like him as far as organization and ruthlessness in business, although I'm not lighting motherfuckers on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically took the infrastructure of the people who decided he was less than them. He said, oh, I'm your enemy now. What did I do to you? Oh, I'm black. That's good enough? Okay. I'm going to take the entire basis of your infrastructure and I'm going to do it better than you. And I actually did that in real life. and I'm going to sell a product twice as good for half the price. And I outsold my competitor in 1/4. Same mentality, without all the gangster and drugs and shit. Like, I ain't do all that because that's how you go to prison, get shot. I ain't trying to do none of that.
Yeah.
I would say as far as a business sense and organization, definitely me and Frank got similarities. Trying to think of another character that would be similar to me. Damn.
Could be an actor.
An actor?
It could be.
Yeah.
Or any famous person.
Could be anime, could be anything.
Me and Vegeta got similarities that you and I talked about last night. As far as background and where they came to be, except at some point he got like really soft in his writing, but I think that was just the animators changed that. But as far as like going from feeling entrapped and pushed down to being one of the most powerful people that ever came out of where he came from, that was definitely my character. So if I go backwards, like, which we don't have time for, and list out all the people I came up with, I'm the strongest as far as life goes. Skills, attributes, experience. Nobody's close to me except my oldest brother. Everybody else is like way behind me. Similar to Vegeta. And a lot of it had to do with violence and fighting and shit. But that was just the life. That's where we lived. That's how it was back then. And I would say that. I would say organization for like business sense, definitely Frank. Rising up to power, I would say there's a lot of Vegeta in like my personality and like my life. Just he's an anime character, he's not a fictional character, but still there are a lot of similarities. But somebody I could pick that just kind of hits all of them, I can't think of one right now.
What do you think is something that you want to work on as a person?
I say fuck y'all a lot in my head. I do, I really do, and I'm not sorry about it. Like I work at a high level, I do good work, I make good money, but I've said it out loud a couple of times when I shouldn't have, because people will say things because they have a sense of superiority because of their status or position, and they'll decide, oh, I'm gonna talk down to Malcolm today. I'm not the person you can run over in any sense. I don't care what you accomplished. You don't get to talk down to me. And there's been a couple of times where like I don't reserve what we call down south the clapback. You say something nasty to me to try to embarrass me in front of a group of people just to make you feel more superior. And when I clap back, it's not funny anymore. I would say I would work on that, 'cause sometimes, like when I say I want to crush, when you show me you're my enemy, I kind of want to crush you in a sense. Sometimes that's verbal. You don't have to raise your voice or curse or call them names. But what I say is going to hit you a lot differently than what you said to me. Because if we are in any type of space together, it's likely that I already know intimate things about you in this field. So you thought it would be funny to embarrass me, and I just said some real shit the rest of the room didn't know about. Different level. I would like to work on that, because that can come off as very vindictive, even if it's just in defense. And it doesn't really serve a purpose except to put them in place. But to the rest of the room, all you did was shit on this person. Even if they did it first, there's no upside to it for me. Except that that person now knows I can't fuck with Malcolm. But I didn't make any money off of letting them know they can't fuck with Malcolm. So it didn't serve me or my business. Also, I like to work on, you know, getting more in touch with my feelings, man.
Yeah? Well, why you say that, man?
I don't know. I feel like I do a lot of traveling and stuff, which tracks for me. And I don't really talk about, aside from these typing sessions and like maybe two of my friends and family members, I don't really express emotion to a lot of people. Like I come off as very reserved to people that in a public, like this is a space where I'm designed to, where it's designed for me to open up. But if you and I didn't know each other, I didn't know anybody else in the chat, and we just saw each other, we out of lunch or some shit, like we might have a 3-minute conversation and never speak again. We could see each other 10 times and it would take like, we'd have to have something connecting us for me to actually connect with that person enough to get on a broader level. Because you and I trained right next to each other for years before we had our first conversation.
Yeah.
Like right next to each other.
Yeah.
So being a little more open with people, because people are like, man, you think you better than everybody. No, I don't fuck with y'all. I don't even know you. But they be right next to me the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, sometimes I think people are like a power source, you know, like you can only go so far in this world without people. I don't think
Yep.
people really realize that, you know, like I may have a question or I might be struggling with something and then I ask you and you solve a fucking 5-year problem for me within 30 seconds, you know?
Yep.
People don't realize that, like that can take you pretty far very fast. Especially like as long as you keep your networks open, you know. But you know, people don't want to maintain friendships, you know. I see it as foolish, you know. Like I don't know everything, you know. There's a lot of shit that Malcolm knows when it comes to laws, regulations and shit like that. You know, I'm like, hey Malcolm, man, you got a couple homes, man. Tell me like, you know, how you run the system with tenants, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What type of contracts are you writing up, you know? Where do you go about that? You know, what are the best rules to have in place so that people don't tear up your shit?
Contracts and paperwork save your whole life. A lot of people, they get on Google, they get a contract off Google, they don't have a lawyer look at it, they both sign it. And a lot of times, because I'm also a notary for the state, so people would bring me stuff like that to my office to notarize. And when I look at it, I'm like, tell me what you want to accomplish with these documents, because that's one of the things we got to go over. And they'll say they want to accomplish something that isn't even remotely close to what's in the document they wanted me to stamp and sign. So now a notary public is a public official.
Mm-hmm.
People think they just do a stamp and stuff. No, you can go to jail and get all kinds of trouble if you fuck this up. Like, you're tied to this. That stamp and seal is a huge deal. That's why you got to get licensed to do it, to have it in that locked bag. What I would do is I tell you to figure out exactly what kind of rental you want. Is it an Airbnb or do you want long-term rental? Great. What's the demographic you're targeting? You got a house near a hospital or something that has a lot of staff and nurses that travel that need places to stay, you can contract. First, I'm gonna tell you how to get your tenants, especially ones that are gonna be able to afford whatever price point you decide. Then I'm gonna send you to the attorney, somebody close to you that has a good reputation, that has experience in that field, to write the contract with you. So you're gonna have to pay that attorney, but that money you pay that attorney to write that contract is going to save you from all those horror stories people talk about with renters. Oh, you destroyed the kitchen. That's cool, because on page 3, line 7, you agreed to replace in full, equal value, or the exact same XYZ that was damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Paperwork will save your life in most aspects of life, including marriage. That's why they call it like prenuptial agreements. Like, you need paperwork. And a lot of people, if you don't have legal writing experience, you're wasting your time writing contracts for yourself for the most part, especially with real estate. Real estate is so specific to itself that I can't even compare it to anything else. But if you got an ironclad contract, you signed it, they signed it, that your attorney drafted up, you shouldn't have any problems, because this paperwork absolves you from those problems. And there are tenant laws, you know, tenant landlord laws as well, but your attorney is already going to educate you on those while they're writing the contracts. All of that will already be lined up in that paperwork that you're going to sign. That's what I would do. That's what I do. Like, if I'm not an expert in this field, I'm not going to pretend that I got all the answers. I'm going to call somebody, hey, Phil, listen, man, I'm trying to write up a contract for XYZ. This is what I'm concerned about. Oh, this new RCW just changed. This law, there's a new tenant law. You got to keep this into consideration. Do you have this type of insurance? They'll put you on game immediately, because once you pay them, they work for you. It's their job to make you succeed. And if they don't do that, you have a contract with that attorney. So if you have a contract, the attorney says they're supposed to help you write these contracts, and they don't do that, guess what? You get your money back and get a different attorney. Don't do the do-it-yourself with real estate. It's a mistake.
So
paperwork.
What's next for you, man, in life?
Sundress season. Excuse me. Sundress season in Las Vegas next month. I'm dead serious. I'm not even playing. I'm flying next month. Sundress season in Las Vegas. It's gonna be hot. I'm gonna be outside.
You go.
I said what I said.
This guy here, man. I'm talking about future.
I got the whole trip already booked up, bro.
Talking about the future wise, man. Future, man.
All right, that is the future. That's next month.
Bro, I'm talking about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. What's next for
Well,
you?
when you
What do you
guys,
want to be remembered for?
when you guys typed me, I told you I was working. I was at the University of Washington taking classes so I can get my agency license to start a armed private investigation firm and armed private security firm so that I can get into the private sector, which is way more money, especially up here. I'm about to do my last quarter of school at UW for that. And then I'm gonna go, hopefully by the second quarter of next year, I should have finished all the state licensing, and then I got to start looking for staff. So that is still in progress. School's going good. The other business, I'm in a different county now, so I'm expanding services and stuff. That stuff's still on track. Got this house. I'm in the library right now. I've been working on this house. I've been under the house, on the roof, in the ceiling, in the walls. I built a shed outside. Like I'm just remodeling room after room after room, building equity in this house, which is equity is going to be your best friend when you start buying properties. The more equity you can build, the better for you because it opens up more lines of credit so you can use the bank's money and not your money when you buy the second or third property.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goals are still unchanged, man. I'm still on track for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Still building over here. My business is still building, and I'm getting the articles of formation ready for the next company that's going to be the armed PI and armed private security services. My 4-year plan for that is to get enough staff in place for each of those that I don't have to be an ops manager anymore. I don't even have to be employed there. I'll just be the owner. My 4 or 5 year goal for that business from the date of its first from its getting official with the state, which will be next year when it's licensed to do business because the license will be finished with the state, is within 4 years, I want to be hands off. I told you I want to retire at 40. I wasn't playing. I'm dead serious. By the time 4 years have passed, those businesses should have enough reliable staff that have proven that they can complete contracts competently and they can do the paperwork correctly. I'll just need to hire a manager to run both of those companies, which means I'll be paying them a lot, but it'll be worth it because they'll basically be a clone of me, but they won't have ownership or equity in the company. They get a salary. Staff has a job. These are the contracts. Y'all know what y'all need to do. Have a manager run it. When it gets to that point, I'll be hands off. I'm gonna sit on the beach somewhere. That's my goal. That shit has not changed at all.
Do you think you'll be happy sitting on the beach, man? How long
Hell yeah.
How long do you think you maintain it?
No, I mean it, bro. Like, I mean it. I've been working since I was 9 years old. That was my first job. I was 9. I've been working a long fucking time. But I don't mean like I'm just gonna retire and just like grow old and fall apart like my finance clients did. Like 3 years after retirement, they were like in failing health or dying because they had a routine, something to look forward to. Then they retired. They just sat at home. They did nothing for like 2-3 years and they passed away one after another. I can't do that shit. But when somebody else is running my companies for me and I'm still making the same amount of money, I can invest my time in other shit. So I'll probably still be working on businesses and stuff, but it won't be all of my time. Because even though I travel a lot, there's a lot of shit I don't have time to do that I would be doing when I get to that point. So I'll probably still have a laptop with some type of wireless router with me, running shit for this company or trying to move money, invest in stuff. But I want to retire from the necessity of working. Like I don't want to work because I have no choice. I'm gonna starve and lose my home and be on the streets and stuff. When money is no longer my main motivator, it will completely change how I spend my time. That's what I want. So within 5 years, I'm trying to be locked up. Listen, y'all are getting audited randomly twice a year. And if one of you stole from me, I'm gonna crush you.
So what's something you would tell the 9-year-old Malcolm?
I would be honest with him. I tell him that life is going to be extremely difficult for you and you're going to suffer a lot and it's not your fault. I'll tell him, like, don't blame yourself for the things that are coming. You're going to get through them. It's going to feel impossible and you feel like you're not going to make it several times over the next, 10, 11 years. You're going to pull through and you're going to be stronger than you ever could have imagined. That's what I would tell me if I could talk to my younger self, because I didn't have somebody there saying like, oh, you could do it. A lot of people have like a role model or something. I didn't have that. So I had to be the hero I needed when I was that your age. Fuck, man, you look around, shit is bad out here. Ain't nobody coming to save you. Kind of like when I told you I was sick and almost died. Nobody's coming to save you. So resilience is a symptom of trauma. I was like, you're gonna have to be very resilient, and you have to make sure your mind stays focused on where you're going and not just where you're at. Because if you stay in the present, which is not necessarily bad, but if all you can think about is right now, you forget tomorrow's gonna come. It's other shit that you need to work on. I would just tell them, don't let it break you. Because a lot of people that I came up with, like I told you last night, they're all dead. They're in prison. Like a bunch of them are in jail right now or prison because it broke them. When they were younger, they went through shit. And they have nobody there to hold their hand, and it just broke them mentally. And they just became like the worst version you could imagine of yourself. They basically became like all the people that had hurt them. They became fucking monsters. I would just tell a younger version of me, don't quit on you. Don't look for somebody to save you either, because they're not coming, which is probably going to be a hard-ass message to tell a 9-year-old. Nobody's coming. That just sounds harsh, but that would be reality.
Yeah. What's a skill you think everybody should learn or know?
Skill everybody should learn or know. Learn who you can fuck with and who you can't. And in the most direct sense of the word. Understand when you are walking into a space, how you carry yourself, how it impacts the room, specifically when it comes to making enemies. Like if you're not trying to make friends with people, don't worry about it. But you're in a space, because I've traveled a lot, understand that there are certain people you cannot fuck with. I don't care how big or strong or how dangerous you think you are. There's people you can't fuck with at all. Like a lot of people are very book smart and they're not street smart at all. And I've watched it happen. People get to run in their mouth because they grew up in a nice privileged home and in Jacksonville in the country clubs, and they talking to the wrong fucking people because they on steroids and they think they bad. And they used to people bowing down to them because their mom and dad got all this money. And I watched them just get stretched the fuck out. Learn who you can fuck with. But also, like, as far as your circle, be careful who you let in your house. Your inner circle is a direct reflection of you. So if you got people around you that just fucking idiots doing dumb shit all the time, and you would be embarrassed if you were them, but you're not them, and they doing that shit, that's your circle. When people look at them, they see a reflection of you because you two are known to hang out together. Learn who you can fuck with. Because you can't hang out with everybody. You can't spend time with everybody. I think that's a skill everybody should have. And if you can't have that skill, either learn how to shut the fuck up or learn how to fight really fast, because life's going to get rough out there.
All right, Malcolm, I think we're ready here, man. Thomas, you ready? You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, bro, we got you wrong, man. You're an ENTP, man.
All right, man, you owe me $6,000.
He said you owe me $6,000. Also, let me go ahead and read your Enneagram. So you're gonna be. It's kind of funny that you got Enneagram 7, but that's not really your Enneagram. Your Enneagram's actually 4. So it's and you're the self-preserving 4, and I'm gonna just read like a little bit of it. It said the self-preservation 4 is the counter type of the 4 subtype, and so it may be difficult to identify this person as a 4. See, very hard to identify you as a 4. Although this 4 experiences envy like other 4s, they communicate their envy and suffering to others less than the other 4 subtypes. Instead of talking about their suffering, these 4s are long suffering in the sense of learning to endure pain without wincing. These 4s are more stoic and strong in the face of their pain. Envy is less apparent in the self-preserving 4 because instead of dwelling in and expressing envy, this 4 works hard to get what others have that he or she lacks. Instead of hanging out in their longing in a way that prevents them from taking action, they strive to get those distant things that gives them the feeling of being able to obtain that which was lost. Whatever they get, however, never feels like enough. Self-preserving 4s do not communicate sensitivity, suffering, shame, or envy, though they may feel all these things, and they have the same depth of and capacity for the feelings as the other 4s. So basically, bro, you're like Vegeta, man. Congratulations.
I'm like Vegeta until they turn him into a housewife.
But
he was the baddest motherfucker, and they ruined him.
I think what happens is when you have a family, you learn to grow with your family. You know, you don't have to be this tough guy all the time. You know, you learn to do what they want. You know, and what they care about, and not about yourself. So I think that was the most powerful thing about Vegeta, is that he went from that strong guy to being that more vulnerable person. that still has his own strengths and everything like that. But he has a family now, man, and I think family changes everybody.
I believe that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's my P's and Q's from it, man.
I got you.
Thomas, you got anything you want to say to him about being the ENTP?
I don't think so. I mean, is this resonating? Like what he's saying about what he just said about your Enneagram? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But what confused me about it though is that Mercer and I almost copy and paste on a lot of our personality traits. That's why we get along so well. But then we were having a conversation yesterday. I noticed before he brought it up how different our response was. I was like, this don't really feel like the same. And then he brought it up to me like, that's not ENTJ, that's not ENTJ. There's a lot of empathy, validating people first. And I was like, yeah, that's a big difference.
I noticed it in the live, the mega live when you got on there, when you were talking to Pharrell, you always validated his feelings. And you said, bro, I can see this and I can understand this. That was one of the first things you said. And then you said, but this is what I'm seeing. So that's more of an ENTP way. And it reminded me of my brother. So I was like, shit, Malcolm's an ENTP. And it made complete sense for the reason why you got Enneagram 7 when you took the test or whatever, because most ENTPs will get 7, but they're actually a 4. Generally speaking, they're generally a 4. But they're usually a counter to the 4, you know. They're taking the soft and the envy, and they used it for strength, you know, to get what they need in life. Like you said earlier, you knew nobody was coming for you. No one was coming to help you. So you had to become strong.
Yep.
So, yeah, man. I mean, it seems like you're pretty focused too, man, which is crazy. Like, do you feel like you start a lot of things and don't finish a lot?
Nah. Like if I started it, somebody getting their ass whipped.
Like when someone like projects, like, you know.
No, I'm just messing with you. No, I don't do that. I used to procrastinate. When I was younger, I procrastinate like half start shit and bullshit, but like it didn't take that long to notice I was wasting time, money, and resources. Like, why the fuck did I start this project? I don't actually care about this. Now I'm more seasoned in life. I'm like, I'm not putting no time into anything at all if I don't want to do it. If I'm not going to finish it, it's a waste of energy and money. So I don't do that at all anymore. If I started it, it's getting done.
Yeah, because a lot of times ENTPs can like start a lot of things and not finish a lot, but
They don't follow things often.
Yeah.
Say again?
ENTPs, they often don't follow through on things. Like they get bored too easily. They don't have the endurance. But that's something like early on you learn that you need to have the endurance, I guess. Like I obviously there's a lot I don't know about your childhood and whatnot, but usually with your Enneagram, it's like they have to grow up early. Like they like you said, you recognize that nobody's coming for me. Like I have to like I have to be able to stand on my own. I think for certain ENTPs, they don't learn that lesson like early on, or they don't learn it ever. And the thing is, if you were a 7, sevens, their vice would be more like hedonism, where like they're always chasing pleasant experiences. That way, they don't have unpleasant feelings. Basically, does that
a lot.
You do?
Yep. Mercer always call me like Nature Joe because I'm always somewhere exotic for some reason.
No, he's always. But I think that's him working on his SI inferior. You know, how do you deal with like melancholic feelings like depression and stuff like that?
I have the school gave me a therapist after my friend passed away, like the most recent one, because we were super close and we had a lot of projects that we were working on together, and all that just came to a halt. So I talked to them. I talked to my mother about him and his family. So when it comes to depression, like I don't sit and wallow in it, because if I just sit there, that emotion doesn't go anywhere. So I need to do something. So I put that energy somewhere. Kind of we talked about yesterday, weaponizing pain. I have to turn that energy into something positive, or you just kind of end up like a shell. And I've seen people go through that, and they just sit in the house for weeks, don't talk to people, and it destroys them. So if I get like really sad or depressed about some shit, I need to go do something with that energy, because I recognize the negative impact it can have if I don't find a way of processing it. So if I get all depressed and shit, I'm not going to be in this house. I'm going to be outside until I don't feel like that no more.
Hey, Melissa's going to be shocked when you tell her, hey, I'm an ENTP.
Man, Melissa, a hater. I don't want to hear nothing about Melissa. She been hating on me all week. She's been talking shit in the comments.
All right, brother. We gotta go, man. It was a pleasure, Malcolm. I'll see you in the
All
group.
right, man.
All right, brother.
All right, peace,
Easy.
bro.